Warning disclaimer. This story is a work of fiction. All characters, names, incidents, and settings are products of the author's imagination. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, or real-life events is purely coincidental. This narrative is intended for emotional storytelling and dramatic exploration only. Reader discretion is advised, as the content may touch on sensitive or disturbing themes such as emotional manipulation or psychological distress. The story promotes awareness and empowerment and does not endorse any harmful behavior. The boxes were everywhere. Emily stood in the middle of her new living room, sweat clinging to her back, her 7-year-old daughter Lily chasing the family cat around stacks of bubble wrap. The move had been exhausting, both emotionally and physically. After her recent divorce, this new house wasn't just a new beginning, it was survival. She took a deep breath and opened another box. Books. She sighed. One step at a time, she murmured. That's when the doorbell rang. Wiping her hands on her jeans, Emily opened the door to find a tall, neatly dressed man holding a tray of cookies. He had kind brown eyes, short chestnut hair, and a smile that radiated friendliness. Hey there. I'm Daniel. We live next door. My wife Maya baked these for you. He extended the tray. Welcome to the neighborhood. Emily blinked, caught off guard. Oh, thank you. That's very kind. He leaned slightly, trying to look past her into the house. You just moved in today? Yeah, it's a lot. Well, if you need any help, heavy lifting, assembling furniture, I'm your guy. I work construction, so I'm used to this kind of chaos. Emily laughed softly. I appreciate it. I think I'll manage, but thank you. Daniel nodded and glanced at Lily, who peeked out from behind the couch. She's a cutie. Emily smiled awkwardly. That's Lily. Daniel waved at her, then turned back to Emily. Anyway, no pressure. Just knock on our door if you need anything. He left with a warm smile, disappearing down the porch steps. That night, as Emily settled into bed with a half-unpacked bedroom, she couldn't help but think about Daniel's friendliness. It felt genuine. Maybe this new neighborhood wouldn't be so bad after all. The next morning, while dragging a heavy bookshelf into the living room, she heard a knock. She opened the door to find Daniel again, this time holding a toolbox. Thought I'd stop by in case you changed your mind, he said with a wink. Emily hesitated. Part of her wanted to decline, but her arms ached, and she'd nearly dropped the bookshelf twice already. Okay, but just this one. Thank you. Daniel smiled. Glad to help. Over the next hour, he helped fix a crooked shelf, repaired a door hinge, and even got her TV mounted. He worked quickly, efficiently, talking casually about the neighborhood, school systems, and home improvement tips. When he finally stood to leave, Emily genuinely felt grateful. I don't know how to thank you, she said. Just promise me one thing, Daniel said, turning to her with a grin. What's that? Don't hesitate to ask next time. Emily smiled faintly and nodded. But she couldn't shake a strange feeling in her chest, like she had just opened a door that might be difficult to close. The next few days passed in a blur of unpacking, adjusting, and trying to build a routine with Lily. Every morning began with rushed school runs, and every night ended with Emily collapsing onto her couch, too tired to think. She hadn't fully relaxed since the move, but Daniel kept showing up just when she needed something. At first, it was small things, a knock at the door with extra trash bags, a suggestion about the best nearby supermarket, or even a quick wave while mowing his lawn. Maya, his wife, rarely joined him. Emily saw her a few times, mostly from a distance, watering the plants, rushing to her car, or standing quietly on their porch, face unreadable. One afternoon, Emily stood outside struggling to carry 2 bags of groceries and Lily's backpack when Daniel appeared again. Let me grab that, he said, taking the heavier bag without waiting for her response. Thanks, Emily said, unsure whether to smile or frown. She followed him inside. He set the bag on her kitchen counter. You know, he said, leaning casually against the fridge, you're doing a great job, raising Lily, handling all this alone. Emily raised an eyebrow. Well, I'm trying. Not everyone could do what you're doing. Something in his tone made her pause. It wasn't exactly what he said, but how he said it. Too warm. Too familiar. Before she could respond, Lily burst in. "Mom, I dropped my ice cream on the driveway." Emily rushed outside with her, and when they returned, Daniel was already gone. That night, as she replayed the scene, she couldn't shake the weirdness of it. Was she overthinking? Maybe he was just being neighborly. Maybe after years of isolation in her marriage, she had forgotten what kindness looked like. But then came more moments. Like the time Daniel offered to check on a strange noise in her garage only to show up while she was in her robe. Or when he brought Lily a gift, just because a coloring book he said reminded him of his own daughter, who passed away years ago. Each time, it was something small, nothing she could point to and say, "This is wrong," but enough to set off silent alarms in her mind. One evening, she found Maya on the front porch, watering their ferns. Emily waved, approaching cautiously. "Hi. I've been meaning to say thanks for the cookies," she said, hoping for an opening. Maya looked up, a faint smile flickering. "Oh, I'm glad you liked them." Her eyes darted toward the door, then back to Emily. "Everything okay?" Emily hesitated. "Yes. Just settling in." Maya gave a slow nod. "Daniel says you've needed a lot of help." Something about her voice felt distant. Off. Emily forced a smile. "Yeah, he's been kind." Maya didn't answer. She just stared ahead, watering the same plant over and over, as if she were afraid to stop. Emily turned and walked away, her thoughts a whirlwind. Kindness shouldn't feel confusing, or heavy, or slightly dangerous. And yet, somehow, it already did. A week later, Emily came home to a note slipped under her front door. She frowned as she picked it up. It was written in clean, blocky handwriting. "Dinner at our place? Just us neighbors. 7 p.m. Casual." It wasn't signed, but she knew who it was from. Emily stared at the note. She hadn't spoken to Maya since that strange encounter on the porch, and her interactions with Daniel had grown even more layered. There hadn't been anything direct, no lines crossed, technically, but there was a tension she couldn't deny. Still, turning down a polite dinner invite would look suspicious. And part of her wanted to see Maya again. Maybe this would be a chance to speak, woman to woman. That evening, she dressed in a simple navy blouse and jeans, brushed Lily's hair into a ponytail, and walked next door, holding a small bowl of salad as a peace offering. Daniel answered the door with that same wide smile. "Right on time," he said, opening the door wider. "Come in." Maya was already inside, setting the table. She smiled briefly at Emily, but didn't speak much. Her eyes were tired, and she moved like someone going through the motions. The dinner was pleasant at first. They talked about schools, neighbors, how fast summer was approaching. Lily happily munched on garlic bread, while Maya served roasted chicken. But halfway through, Maya excused herself to take a phone call, something about her sister, an emergency with a flat tire. As soon as she disappeared down the hallway, the atmosphere shifted. Daniel leaned slightly across the table. "You look really beautiful tonight," he said softly, keeping his eyes fixed on Emily. Emily froze. Her fork hovered in midair. "Excuse me?" Daniel smiled, unbothered. "I just meant, relaxed." "You're glowing." Emily put her fork down. "I think that's the kitchen light." He chuckled like it was a joke. But it wasn't. Before she could say more, Maya returned, flustered and apologetic. "Sorry. My sister locked herself out of her car. I need to go help her." She looked at Daniel. "Can you handle everything here?" Daniel nodded casually. "Of course." Emily stood quickly. "Actually, Lily and I should head back too." But Maya waved her hand. No, it's okay. Stay. Finish eating." Emily wanted to say no. But Maya was already walking out the door, keys in hand. And just like that, Emily was alone. With him. Daniel leaned back in his chair, sipping his drink. "She always assumes I can entertain guests. Hope you don't mind." Emily's hands clenched under the table. "Actually, I should really put Lily to bed." "She seems fine," Daniel said, nodding at the child who was now coloring quietly in the corner. Emily stood. "We've had enough. Thank you for dinner." Daniel stood too, blocking her path for half a second before stepping aside. Of course. Anytime. Back in her own house, Emily locked the door and pressed her back against it, heart pounding. She wasn't imagining things anymore. And what worried her most was how carefully he was playing this game. 3 days passed without a single knock, message, or appearance from Daniel. The silence was oddly unsettling, like the air before a storm. Emily found herself jumping at small noises, checking locks twice, and pulling the curtains tighter than usual. One morning, as she opened the front door to walk Lily to school, her stomach dropped. A note fluttered to the ground. Her hands trembled as she picked it up. You looked stunning the other night. I can't stop thinking about you. No envelope. No attempt at subtlety this time. Emily's breath caught. She crumpled the paper in her fist and glanced around. No one on the street. Maya's car was gone. Lily tugged at her arm. Mommy, we're going to be late. Emily managed a weak smile. Right. Let's go. She didn't sleep that night. She sat on the couch with her laptop, searching for articles on harassment, documenting each interaction in a Word document. Part of her wanted to confront Daniel. The other part feared what he might do if she pushed too hard. She considered calling the police, but for what? A note? A few awkward dinners? A helpful neighbor being too nice? None of it added up to proof. Worse, it would be her word against his. Daniel, the charming, helpful husband with no record and a perfect smile. By the next evening, the tension had reached a boiling point. She was in the backyard, watering her plants, when she heard the familiar crunch of gravel behind her. She didn't turn. Hey, Daniel's voice called softly. I saw the porch light flickering last night. Thought I'd come take a look. I'm fine, Emily said without facing him. He stepped closer anyway. I don't mind. I know you've been overwhelmed. I said I'm fine. Her tone sharpened. There was a long silence. Then his voice dropped to a whisper. You don't have to pretend. Emily finally turned to face him, her eyes hard. Daniel, whatever you think is happening here, it's not. I'm not interested. Please stop. His expression didn't change, just a slow blink. Then, a smile that didn't reach his eyes. You misunderstood. Just being neighborly. He walked away slowly, hands in pockets, as if they'd just talked about the weather. Emily watched him disappear behind the fence, her knees threatening to buckle. She rushed inside and locked the back door. That night, every sound felt amplified, the creak of pipes, the hum of the fridge, the wind outside the windows. She kept Lily close and her phone fully charged on the nightstand. And just before sunrise, she stepped outside to catch her breath. That's when she noticed the second note, tucked beneath a flower pot on her porch. You don't have to be afraid of me. You'll see. We understand each other more than you think. This time, Emily didn't just shake. She felt a cold dread settle into her bones. This wasn't attention anymore. It was obsession. Emily couldn't pretend anymore. What started as an uneasy feeling had grown into something darker, something she couldn't unsee. And now she couldn't ignore the one person who might understand, Maya. The next day, Emily waited until she saw Maya pulling into her driveway alone. She took a breath, told Lily to stay inside, and walked next door. Maya was unloading groceries when Emily approached. Her face lit up in a tight smile, polite but guarded. Hey, Emily said, trying to sound casual. Need a hand? Maya hesitated. Sure. Thanks. Together, they carried 2 bags inside. The silence between them was thick. Once they were in the kitchen, Emily took a risk. Maya, can I ask you something? Maya didn't look up from the fridge. Of course. Is everything okay with Daniel? That question hung in the air like a loaded weapon. Maya's hands paused mid-reach for the milk carton. What do you mean? Emily hesitated, then spoke softly. I've been feeling uncomfortable. Some of the things he says. The notes. The way he shows up. Something doesn't feel right. Maya slowly closed the fridge door, still not facing her. He's just friendly. People misread that sometimes. I didn't misread a note left on my door. Maya turned now slowly. Her eyes were blank, but her voice trembled. He wrote you a note? Emily nodded, her heart pounding. A long silence followed. Then, Maya spoke so quietly that Emily had to lean in to hear. He did that to the last woman too. Emily's throat tightened. What? She moved away last year. He said she made it up. I believed him back then. Maya's hands trembled as she clutched the edge of the counter. I believed every excuse. Every lie. Until I stopped asking questions. Emily's voice cracked. Are you okay? Is he hurting you? Maya didn't answer directly. Instead, she reached for a mug in the cabinet, her sleeve sliding up just enough to reveal faint yellow bruises. Emily's stomach turned. Maya, you don't have to stay quiet. Maya finally met her eyes. He's careful. Always just enough to make you doubt yourself. He doesn't yell. He doesn't leave marks that matter. But I see what he's doing to you. I saw it the moment he offered to help. That's how it always starts. Tears stung Emily's eyes. I want to help you, she said softly. But I need to protect my daughter too. I know, Maya whispered. That's why I haven't said anything until now. But maybe we can help each other. Emily nodded slowly, the fear still there, but joined now by something else, determination. As she left Maya's house and walked back home, her mind was racing. This wasn't just about discomfort anymore. This wasn't just a creepy neighbor with bad boundaries. This was a man with a pattern. And two women, both caught in his shadow, finally ready to step into the light. The clock read 11:42 p.m. Emily sat curled on the couch, arms around her knees, every light in the house still on. She had put Lily to bed hours ago, but sleep was impossible. Her mind replayed Maya's confession like a broken record. She hadn't seen Daniel all day. And yet, she felt him lurking just out of sight, like a shadow behind the glass. She had started keeping a file. Screenshots of text messages. Photos of the notes. Audio memos with date and time. Maya had quietly sent her a few voice recordings too low, muffled clips of arguments and eerie silences that ended with a slammed door. Emily wasn't sure what she'd do with all of it yet, but she knew she had to be ready. That night, just as her eyes began to close, a knock shattered the silence. She jumped, her heart slamming into her ribs. 3 slow knocks. She moved to the window and pulled the curtain aside just an inch. Daniel. Standing on her porch. No smile. No cookies. Just standing there, still, hands in his pockets, staring at the door like he could see through it. She stepped back. Another knock. Louder this time. She fumbled for her phone and dialed her friend Kayla. Emily? It's late. Everything okay? I need you to come over. Please, Emily whispered. He's here. He's outside my door. Is Lily with you? Yes. She's asleep. I'm on my way. Don't open the door. Emily set the phone down, breathing hard. She moved toward the hallway, locking Lily's door from the outside quietly. Her daughter didn't need to wake up to this. Another knock, more urgent now. Then a voice. Emily, come on. I know you're awake. The light's on. Don't be rude. She backed away from the door. I just need to talk. Just a few minutes. You don't have to act scared. I'd never hurt you. Her skin prickled. That was the most terrifying sentence of all. Because people who truly meant it didn't need to say it. Emily didn't respond. She moved back into the living room and picked up her phone, hovering between calling the police or waiting for Kayla. 10 minutes crawled by. Then headlights. Daniel turned suddenly and walked off the porch like nothing happened. Calm. Unbothered. He disappeared into the shadows between the houses just as Kayla's car pulled up. Emily rushed out to meet her. He was here. Kayla's face tightened. You should call the cops. I will. I needed someone to believe me first. They went inside, double-checking every lock, every window. Emily finally let Lily sleep with her in her bed, and Kayla stayed on the couch with a flashlight nearby. No more knocks came. But Emily didn't sleep. Instead, she lay awake, staring at the ceiling, thinking about Maya and how they had both stayed silent for too long. That silence was about to end. 2 days passed. Emily didn't see Daniel. No knocks. No notes. No lurking glances from the driveway. It was as if he had vanished, but the silence wasn't comforting. It was calculated. Emily could feel it. Then, on a cloudy Wednesday morning, a soft knock came, but not on the front door. It was the back one. The one barely anyone used. Emily peered through the kitchen blinds. Maya. Her arms were wrapped tightly around herself, her hair pulled into a messy bun, and her face, pale, lips trembling. Emily opened the door without a word. Maya stepped inside and closed it gently behind her. She didn't speak right away. She stood in Emily's kitchen like someone afraid to breathe. Finally, she said in a hollow voice, "He knows I talk to you." Emily's stomach turned. What did he do? Maya shook her head. He didn't hit me. Not this time. He doesn't need to anymore. He just watches. Every move I make, every word. And last night, he said your name. Casually. Like a warning. Emily's voice cracked. Why do you stay? Maya looked up, her eyes glistening. Because I've tried to leave. Twice. Emily stared at her. The first time, I packed a bag while he was at work. He came home early. Said he just had a feeling. Took the bag and threw it in the fireplace. I was pregnant then. Emily's breath hitched. Maya went on, voice barely audible. The second time, I went to a shelter. He found me within 3 days. I never told anyone where I went. That's when I realized he's always watching. He reads my messages. Follows me without me knowing. Emily sat down slowly. Maya, this is serious. This is dangerous. I know, Maya whispered. That's why I'm done staying quiet. She reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a small flash drive. Emily took it, confused. I've been recording things. Videos. Phone calls. Even screenshots of texts he sends other women. You're not the first. You might not be the last. But I want to make you the last one he ever tries to intimidate. Emily stared at her. You want to go to the police? Maya shook her head. No. Not yet. Not until we have more. I want to catch him in the act. Something that can't be twisted or explained away. Emily's pulse quickened. What do you mean? We make him believe he's in control. We bait him. You record everything. Every word. Every visit. Emily hesitated, her chest tightening. That's a huge risk. Maya's eyes were fierce now. I know. But I've lived with him for 7 years. That's 7 years too long. I need this to end. I need someone to finally stand with me. Emily looked down at the flash drive in her hand. It was more than evidence. It was trust. And a cry for help. She looked back up and met Maya's eyes. Okay, we do it together. Maya nodded, a tear sliding down her cheek. For the first time in years, she wasn't alone. The next 2 weeks were a careful dance, every move rehearsed, every word calculated. Emily and Maya communicated only in person, never over text. Emily kept her phone on record when Daniel appeared and stored backups of the footage on cloud storage Maya had set up under a fake name. Daniel, as if sensing the shifting tide, grew bolder. He returned his usual visits, innocently dropping by with tools, leaving small items at Emily's doorstep, brushing her hand when passing by. Emily, though trembling inside, never reacted. She smiled. She played along. And she recorded everything. The final moment came one rainy Thursday evening. Daniel showed up at Emily's door, umbrella in one hand, a bottle of wine in the other. You look like you could use company, he said smoothly. Emily forced a smile. Actually, come in. She stepped aside. Behind the curtains, Maya sat quietly in the dark with her phone out, already recording. Daniel stepped inside and made himself comfortable. You've finally come around, he said, setting the wine on the counter. Took you long enough. Emily's heart pounded in her chest, but she stayed calm. I guess I just needed time. He stepped closer. Too close. And then he said it, words they would replay again and again in court. We don't need to tell Maya. She won't believe you anyway. No one ever does. That was it. Emily smiled softly, then turned and opened the bedroom door. 2 police officers stepped out, quietly, firmly, without a word. Daniel froze. What the hell? You're under arrest, the officer said, snapping handcuffs onto his wrists. Charges include harassment, intimidation, and stalking. Daniel's eyes darted toward Maya, who had come into the light. She didn't cry. She didn't flinch. She simply stared at him, silent and strong, as he was led out the door and into the rain. The court case that followed made local headlines. Emily and Maya testified. The recordings were undeniable. Other women, neighbors, old friends, a former coworker, came forward with stories they had buried for years. It was as if one voice gave rise to dozens more. Daniel was sentenced. Not just jail time, but a lasting record. No more shadows. No more notes. No more fear. Months later, Maya and Emily sat on Emily's back porch, sipping tea while Lily played in the garden. So Maya said, looking up at the sunset, "What now?" Emily smiled. "Now we heal." Maya nodded slowly. "You saved me." Emily shook her head. "No. We saved each other." They sat in silence for a while. The kind that comes after a storm has passed, not heavy anymore, but full of breath and peace. For the first time in years, they both felt it. Safe. And free. 59.